Welcome back, guys. So there isn't really much to talk about on this week's episode of Colony. I mean, there were no major reveals, no major events. Well, there were some major events, but nothing that really requires the kind of analysis that you present on a review video. So instead of presenting you with a review, I'm gonna be talking some theories. But before I get started on these theories, I'm gonna talk the top moments and the WTF moment, that one major moment on this episode, and then move on to the core part of the video, the theory part of the video. So number one, we've got the death of Charlie. That's the biggest moment on this episode. Very unexpected. Now, if you've been following me since I've been doing reviews for season 2, you would realize that I would have preferred Bram to be the one to die in this episode. I mean, I really dislike Bram. I mean, the kid is really irritating. Charlie was a more interesting character than Bram will ever be. The truth is, Bram is the kid who's acting as a rebellious teenager and the one who's pretty much annoying the crap out of everyone and making the choices that screws up everything. He's the kid who doesn't realize that he needs to stop throwing those tantrums. He's the kid who needs to realize that not every decision should be made on a limb. But then you've got Charlie, who since his reunion with the family on season 2 was pretty smart. He's the kid who's thinking ahead of his age. He's the kid who's trying to be protective of his younger sister. He's acting like a parent to her. And his death as well was part of that. Part of trying to save Gracie, sending Gracie first and making sure her back is covered before he starts running himself. But number 2, except for Alan Snyder and the Bowman family, less Charlie, everyone else in this camp has been killed. Now, I would like to believe that the series has done so well with this arc. I mean, it's not the best arc you will ever see on TV or watch on TV, but it is pretty good. The way they started it, the way they developed it, and then the way they wrapped it, that was really good. And the role of Alan Snyder in all of this was really entertaining as well. It's always entertaining to watch Alan Snyder play politics. And Alan Snyder did do that over the course of this episode, talking to Vincent throughout, and he did use his deception skills to get him to do his own bidding. Now, I personally don't think that will ever forget Alan Snyder for this. I think he's always gonna blame him for the death of Charlie. I think at some point he's gonna realize that Alan Snyder was behind this, and this time there's gonna be no forgiveness. He's not gonna let it go. But then again, you could tell that Alan Snyder is kind of disliking the fact that Charlie is dead. He's not really happy with it. Now, even though Alan Snyder is a crappy personality, he still does care for the Bowmans. He still does care for their welfare and their safety. So I would be inclined to assume that the death of Charlie is gonna weigh on him, it's gonna haunt him, and he's gonna be remorseful over it for the days to come, the episodes to come, that is. But that having been said though, I think we're done with the review part, the top moments part, and we're now heading into theory territory. Now, pretty much there are 2 theories that I want to discuss here. Number 1, the origin of the host, the alien host, the AIs, and number 2, are we watching 2 timelines with Broussard, or are we watching something else, as in time travel may be involved? Alright, so let's start with the first one. I do think the hosts are a creation of the aliens that they're trying to fight at this moment. I mean, think about it this way. They created the hosts, they gave them a certain level of intelligence, and just like a lot of the AI movies out there, the hosts ended up rebelling. So these bots or these cliques or these hosts ended up realizing that they have been created to be used as well in annihilating all these other races, and they decided, okay, we're gonna be a race of our own. We're gonna be the Westworld scenario of Colony. And accordingly, they made enemies of their creators, they set out, they started their own thing, and they decided, okay, we're gonna protect planets like the Earth from our very own masters. Now, that is one possibility out of many. I do believe though that the answer to this question, the question of who are the hosts, happens to be one of the options that were given by Alan Snyder on this episode, one of which would actually apply to what I just explained moments ago. But while so far this is my favorite, the other options would be that they're a group of aliens, an alien race that pretty much uploaded their consciousness into these spheres, the spheres that Alan Snyder pretty much referred to as their consciousness. Now, with how these kind of TV series work these days, I'm almost certain that the writers wrote these 2 options in order to give us a glimpse at the kind of possibilities they're kind of toying with. But they don't know yet which one they're going by. I don't even think that is going to be a reveal on season 3. I think that's a reveal for season 4, maybe season 5. But anyway, the other theory I want to discuss over here is all about Broussard getting to the resistance camp outside the wall after all that we saw happen on this episode ended up happening. So a commenter on my Colony review last week, Tom, did suggest that when Amy and Broussard got close to that dome in the desert, you know, where the gravity was lacking and she was feeling dizzy and the bullet gauntlets were pretty much floating in the air, that kind of caused a glitch in time, causing Broussard to travel through time. Now, I would imagine that would be a very slight time jump, but I would also imagine that theory might not hold true after watching this week's episode. Now, if that time jump thing were to hold true, that would open the road to so many theories out there, so many theories that I've actually presented before. But if it weren't to be true, then what I think they did at the very end of the episode last week is they presented us with Broussard getting to the camp after it was wrecked because they wanted to give us this major cliffhanger. What happened to the Bowmans? So in this case, it wouldn't really be a time travel time jump, but rather a flash forward kind of time jump. But in all cases, if they do get to a point where they reveal that this had something to do with time travel, be sure I'm going to be posting a crazy theory video right then and there. Now, one last thing I want to talk about over here is the fact that we haven't seen Madi yet. Now, I do think we're going to end up seeing Madi later on this season. I do think we're going to go to the factory, and we are going to find out what happens to people who are taken out of all these colonies and sent to the factory. People like Madi who undergo total rendition. I just couldn't imagine how a secondary character, but a very important one to the story of the first couple of seasons, would be killed off screen. That just does not fit the trope of any kind of TV series. But that being said though, let me know in the comments what you thought of the latest episode of Colony. Do you feel so bad for the death of Charlie? I personally did. I don't know if you felt as bad as I did, and I couldn't ask you if you did because, well, I said did a lot over here and you couldn't really quantify how badly I felt over the death of Charlie. But seriously though, let me know what the impact of the death of Charlie was on you. Let me know as well what you thought of the performance by none other than Alan Snyder on this episode. I think he was amazing. But you can finally let me know if you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, and if that were to be the case, you can always subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. Until my next Colony video or the next video you decide to tune in for on my channel, thank you all for tuning in and have a great day.